Mommy! The words sliced through the party like a knife. Leila's heart stopped. Her 6-year-old son, Malik, broke free from the nanny's hand and ran straight into the center of the room, his laughter ringing louder than the music. Heads turned, whispers began. Leila's breath caught when she saw the one thing she had fought to keep hidden all these years, the birthmark on Malik's neck, a sharp crescent identical to the one Donghae carried. And Donghae saw it. The billionaire CEO, known for his icy composure, stood frozen with his glass midair. His eyes narrowed, piercing straight into Malik, then shifted to Leila. The glass slipped from his fingers, shattering into silence. The crowd gasped. Phones lifted, everyone had noticed. Leila's legs trembled. For 6 years she had buried the truth, raising her child alone, far from this man's world of power and cruelty. She had promised herself that Donghae would never know, that Malik would never be dragged into his ruthless empire. But it was too late. Donghae stepped forward, his towering frame cutting through the crowd, his jaw clenched, his voice low but lethal. "Leila!" His gaze locked on her, unblinking. "Whose child is that?" Her throat tightened. Every secret, every sleepless night, every sacrifice had led to this moment. And now her carefully built life was about to collapse. Leila's palms grew damp as the room closed in around her. Malik clung to her leg, confused by the stares and murmurs. Donghae moved closer, each step measured, his presence swallowing the air. His eyes flicked once more to the mark on Malik's neck, then back to her. "You're going to answer me," he said, voice low, dangerous. "Is he mine?" Leila's lips parted, but no words came. The weight of 100 eyes pressed down. Guests whispered, cameras flashed. She grabbed Malik's hand and pulled him toward the exit, desperate to escape. "Leila!" Donghae's voice cracked like a whip. She froze, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. He wasn't just a man in this room. He was power, influence, danger. Running wouldn't be easy. Malik looked up at her, wide-eyed. "Mommy, why is he angry?" The question sliced her heart open. She tightened her grip on him and forced her voice steady. "It's okay, baby. Let's go." But Donghae was faster. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist before she reached the door. His grip was firm, not violent, but enough to remind her she couldn't run from him. Not anymore. He bent close, his breath hot against her ear. 6 years, Leila. You kept my son from me for 6 years. Her knees nearly buckled. Malik gasped, staring between them, the truth unraveling in front of his innocent eyes. Leila's wrist burned under Donghae's grip, but what shook her more was the fire in his eyes. It wasn't just anger, it was betrayal. "You hid him from me," Donghae hissed, his jaw tight. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Leila's throat felt dry. The whispers of the crowd grew louder, like a wave ready to crash. She pulled Malik closer, shielding him with her free hand. "This isn't the place, Donghae. Let us go." But Donghae's grip only tightened. His gaze flicked to Malik, softening for a fraction of a second before hardening again. "He has my blood. My name. And you thought you could erase me from his life?" Malik's eyes filled with confusion. "Mommy, who is he?" The question tore at her. Leila dropped to her knees, hugging her son against her chest. Her voice trembled. "He's someone you don't need to know right now." Donghae crouched down, his presence looming over them both. His voice dropped to a growl. "No, Leila. He needs to know everything. And so do you." Leila's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to run, but her strength faltered beneath his gaze. The walls of her carefully guarded secret were collapsing. "Tomorrow morning," Donghae said, his tone final, unyielding. "You and Malik will come to my house. No excuses, no running. If you don't, I will come for both of you." The threat hung heavy. Leila's world was no longer hers. The next morning, Leila stood frozen before the iron gates of the Lee family mansion, Malik's small hand clutched in hers. The sprawling estate towered like a fortress, guarded by high walls and watchful eyes. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but Donghae's warning echoed louder than her fear. The gates creaked open, revealing Donghae himself, He stood tall in a tailored suit, every inch the powerful heir she once loved, and now despised. His eyes locked on Malik, softening for a heartbeat before his expression hardened again. "You came," he said simply, stepping aside. Leila walked in, her chest tight. Malik's eyes widened at the marble fountains and manicured gardens. "Mommy, is this a castle?" he whispered. Donghae bent slightly, his voice low but steady. "It's your home too." Leila's stomach nodded. She yanked Malik closer. "Don't confuse him." Inside, the mansion was a world of cold elegance. Chandeliers glowed above, portraits of past generations lined the halls, and silence weighed like judgment. At the end of the corridor, an older woman descended the staircase, Madame Lee, Donghae's mother. Her sharp gaze pierced Leila instantly. "So," Madame Lee said coolly, her eyes flicking between Leila and Malik, "this is the secret you've been hiding." Leila's breath hitched, but before she could answer, Donghae's hand rested firmly on Malik's shoulder. "He's my son," Donghae declared, his voice echoing through the grand hall. Leila's world trembled. It wasn't just Donghae she had to face now. His entire family had been dragged into her secret. Madame Lee's eyes narrowed, her lips curling in disdain as she descended the last step. Her heels struck the marble with sharp, deliberate clicks, each one like a countdown to judgment. "A foreign girl," she sneered, circling Leila with a predator's grace. "And you dare bring this child into my house?" "Into the Lee bloodline?" Leila's cheeks burned, but she lifted her chin. "With all due respect, Madame Lee, Malik is your grandson. Whether you like it or not, the air stilled." Malik clung to Leila's dress, sensing the hostility, his wide eyes darting between the adults. Madame Lee's cold laugh sliced through the tension. "Grandson? You really think you can claim that by springing a child on us years later? Do you know how many women have tried to manipulate this family with lies?" Donghae's jaw tightened, his hand curling into a fist at his side. "Mother," he said firmly, stepping between them, "there's no lie. I had Malik tested before I called them here. He is mine." The words crashed over Leila. He'd tested Malik without telling her? Her breath caught in betrayal, but before she could react, Madame Lee's fury exploded. "So it's true. You've ruined everything, Donghae. An heir born from this girl?" She spat the last words like venom. Leila's heart pounded, torn between rage and fear. But when Madame Lee's glare shifted to Malik, she instinctively shielded him with her body. "You can insult me," Leila said, her voice trembling but strong, "but you will not touch my son." The silence that followed Leila's defiance was deafening. Madame Lee's nostrils flared, her perfectly manicured hand twitching as if resisting the urge to strike. But before she could speak, Donghae stepped forward, his tall frame shielding both Leila and Malik. For the first time, his voice cut like steel. "Enough, mother!" The words echoed through the hall, startling even the servants hiding at the edges. Madame Lee's eyes widened, not with fear, but with disbelief. Donghae had never dared oppose her. "You will not insult Leila, and you will not deny Malik. He is my son, our family's future." Whether you approve or not, nothing changes that Leila's chest swelled at his words, but bitterness coiled inside her too. He was defending them now, yet he had still betrayed her trust. Madame Lee's lips thinned into a cruel smile. "Future? Do you think the board will accept a bastard child from a foreign woman? Do you think investors will pour millions into a company whose heir has no pedigree?" Her gaze flicked to Malik, sharp and unkind. Malik whimpered, burying his face into Leila's skirt. Rage boiled inside her. "Stop it!" Leila snapped, surprising even herself. "He's just a child. Your grandson. If your empire is so fragile that a 5-year-old can bring it down, maybe it's not as powerful as you pretend." The room froze. Donghae turned to Leila, stunned by her fire. Madame Lee's face darkened, her composure cracking. "This is war, then," Madame Lee whispered. That night, the Lee mansion pulsed with a storm no one could see. Leila held Malik tightly in their room, her heart pounding with the weight of Madame Lee's threat. Donghae had promised to protect them, but promises from him had once broken her before. Meanwhile, in the study, Madame Lee poured herself a glass of wine, her eyes cold and calculating. She dialed a number with steady fingers. "Do it," she ordered. "Make sure Leila believes Donghae only wants the boy, not her." The plan was cruel but flawless. If Leila lost faith, she would walk away on her own. No scandal, no lawsuits, no heir raised outside the Lee dynasty. The next morning, Leila received an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a series of photographs. Donghae dining with another woman, his hand brushing hers across the table, his lips close to her ear, as though whispering secrets. Her blood ran cold. Donghae knocked moments later, eyes hopeful, ready to take her and Malik out for the day. But when she opened the door, Leila's face was pale, her hands trembling as she shoved the photos against his chest. "Is this why you suddenly care about us? Because I have your son? Was everything you said just another lie?" Her voice cracked, but her eyes burned with fury. Donghae's jaw tightened, his fists clenching around the photos. He knew exactly whose hand was behind this. "Mother," he whispered. Leila stuffed Malik's clothes into a worn travel bag, her tears blurring her vision. The photographs still burned in her mind. Every sweet word Donghae had whispered now felt poisoned. She had been foolish once to believe him, and she wouldn't let her son suffer the same fate. "Mommy, where are we going?" Malik's small voice trembled. Leila forced a smile, wiping his cheek. "Somewhere safe, baby. Somewhere they can't hurt us." Downstairs, Donghae tore through the mansion like a man possessed. "Leila!" His voice echoed, raw with desperation. But Madame Lee intercepted him, her face composed and smug. "Let her go, Donghae," she said smoothly. "She was never meant to be here. You'll have Malik. That's all that matters." Donghae's eyes blazed. "I don't want just Malik. I want them both." But upstairs, Leila zipped the bag shut. She glanced once more at the life she had almost believed she could have. Her hands shook as she took Malik's hand. "We have to leave now." The driver who owed her a favor pulled up quietly at the side gate. Leila slipped inside with Malik, her heart racing as the car pulled away into the dark streets of Seoul. Back inside the mansion, Donghae finally burst into her room, only to find it empty. The curtains fluttered like mocking whispers. He sank to his knees, clutching the photos his mother had planted. For the first time, the mighty heir felt powerless, but not defeated. "I'll bring them back," he swore. The next morning, Leila and Malik sat in a dingy motel on the outskirts of Seoul. The cracked wallpaper and flickering light bulb were far from the luxury of the Lee estate, but at least here, no one looked twice at a tired mother clutching her child. "Mommy, will he find us?" Malik asked softly, his wide eyes filled with innocence. Leila hugged him tighter. "No, baby, not this time." But her voice wavered. Deep inside, she knew Donghae would never stop searching. And she was right. Across the city, Donghae ignored the boardroom, ignored his father's threats, ignored Madame Lee's icy triumph. He had one mission: bring Leila and Malik home. His men scoured CCTV footage until finally, a grainy clip revealed Leila stepping into a taxi with Malik. Donghae's heart nearly stopped. He had a lead. He sped through the streets, his car tires screeching against the asphalt, each second clawing at his chest. He couldn't lose them again. At the motel, Leila's instincts screamed danger. She peeked through the window and froze. Donghae's black car had pulled up outside. Her pulse thundered. She grabbed Malik's hand. "We have to go now." They dashed toward the back exit, the sound of footsteps pounding behind them. Donghae's voice ripped through the air, raw and desperate. "Leila, don't run from me, please." Leila stumbled, torn between fear and the ache in her chest. Malik clung to her, confused, whispering, "Mommy, I think he loves you." Tears stung her eyes. Love wasn't enough. Not if it meant breaking her son's heart. But as Donghae's shadow closed in, she realized running forever might not be possible. Leila froze at the motel's back door, her breath ragged. Donghae stood just a few steps away, rain dripping from his hair, his eyes burning, not with anger, but with desperation. "Leila," he said, his voice breaking, "don't take another step. Please, I'm not here to drag you back. I just want my son, our son, to know the truth." Layla's grip tightened on Malik's hand. The truth? You mean the truth that your family sees me as nothing? That they would have torn him from me? Donghae stepped closer, his hands trembling. I fought them, Leila. Every single day. My father disowned me for defending you. My mother threatened to ruin me. But I don't care anymore. All I care about is you and Malik. Malik looked up at his mother, then at Donghae. His small voice sliced through the storm. Mommy, is he my daddy? The world seemed to stop. Layla's tears spilled over as she nodded. Yes, baby. He's your father. Malik's hand slipped free from hers, and he ran straight into Donghae's arms. Donghae fell to his knees, clutching the boy as if he'd finally found his missing heartbeat. I love you, son, he whispered, his voice shaking. Layla's chest cracked open. All these years of fear, of loneliness. Could she dare to believe him? Donghae reached out his hand toward her. Come home with me. Not to my family. To me. To us. For the first time, Leila didn't feel like she was running. She stepped forward, placed her hand in his, and whispered, We'll go home, together. And as the rain washed over them, the three of them stood as one, a family finally whole. The moral lesson of this story is love backed by courage can overcome even the deepest scars of fear and prejudice.